So YouTube, it is I again. It's bright and early morning, trying to square off and get some things situated prior to the start of my work week. So I kind of wanted to give you a quick update on some of the things that I've actually done to the Firebird this weekend. Nothing overly complicated, but I kind of want to just take you through step by step some of the things that I've done. Now, as all of you know, every last one of my cars gets one of these pivot raising voltage stabilizers. As you can see, there are multiple ground connections, some directly to the motor, some to the body of the car. And what these help with is electrical spikes. I actually discovered these years ago when I was working with like BMWs and Range Rovers, which were notorious for a lot of different electrical issues. And it might sound like a gimmick, or it might just be some stroke of luck, but these have always worked for me. So every car I get, I actually install a voltage stabilizer, especially when I plan on adding a system. Okay. This particular car, I explained to you I was actually going to give to my son, but this week I decided that was not going to happen. Driving in the car with my 18-year-old son, I realized he probably didn't need to be zipping down the road with this, even though it's only a couple hundred horsepower. So I decided to get him a Volkswagen Golf MK4 GLS, slammed, 20-inch wheels on it, system, so forth. He's a good kid, but that little 115 horsepower that GLS has, factory, and his four-door was all he needed. So this weekend, I actually spent a lot of my time working on that car, which I will make a video for. The hatch, the rear hatch is giving me issues, and the lock actuator, was giving me some problems, but I was able to fix it. But again, that's another video. But what I did do with this is I updated my coil packs. We need more spark, right? And so I found these TRQs, and these claim to have 15% more than stock coils. I read reviews on everything I buy, and not just on one site. I read reviews on multiple sites. I know that takes time, and a lot of you might not have patience, but when it comes to performance, I have patience. Some things have taken me 6 months before I pulled the trigger and decided to buy. I'm still operating, looking for a cam for this 3800. I think I've narrowed it down, but now I have the cam. I'm trying to figure out who can do the tune. It is a 20-plus-year-old car, and so the things that used to be available back in 2008 and 2010 on a lot of these forums, unfortunately, are not available. And I do still have the option of a supercharger, but because this is going to be a daily, I still want my air conditioning. And with the turbocharger, I still want my air conditioning. And with the turbocharger kit that I actually saw, you actually have to delete your AC, and I'm not interested in doing that. The only other thing that I did here, obviously, is I removed that baffle. As you can see, that's like a matte black. That's just 3-inch PVC. If you cut right, it works flawless. 8 coats of matte, and to me, it kind of blends in. You might see something different with it. I saw a couple different things that people did using elbows and angles. I wanted to go straight with the flat, and to me, that actually looks great. If you follow me back here to the back of the car, that's my system setup. Okay. Now I do plan on getting a rear louver for the window, and the rear window will be tinted, so this will be hidden. But this is actually a 50 farad capacitor, which I really like. This is a Rockville capacitor. At one point, these were $220. I actually found this on Facebook Marketplace. A guy was selling 2 of them. He had a Rockville 50, and he had a 1.5-inch Rockville, 1.5 farad Rockville, and I paid $30 for both. Initially, it felt like there was a short, and I kind of feel bad because I reached out to the guy and complained that they didn't work. You know, with the Corvette, similar situation, the grounding on these are very finicky. You have to be very sure to locate the correct ground points, and you actually have to make sure that you have the correct grounding wire, the gauge wise. I actually had to order 4-gauge grounds for this because it's 50 farad, that's what it needed. And then this is a 5-channel matrix amp, which actually I have to reach out to the seller for this too. I actually got this at a great deal. This is 5-channel, adjustable full, and you know, look here. I mean, it's got every adjustment option you can think of. It works seamless. But I complained that it was staying constantly in protect mode. And again, my ego got the best of me because I've been installing systems for a very long time. And what I found is it wasn't grounded correctly. The initial ground was the seat belt under here. You can't do that. I actually had to use the trunk lock ground, 4-gauge. And so as you can see, everything actually works seamless and perfect. What I also like about this capacitor is that it actually has remote hookup also. So you know, this is a really good capacitor. I think now the cheapest I've seen them is maybe $100 plus shipping. But for the $30, if you split it in two, for the $15 I paid for it, dude, awesome. As you well know in my previous video, these are all MB quarts that have been replaced. So this is actually a 5x7, and those are 6.5s. And this system roars. Okay, let me tell you something. And I still have room to improve it. You know, normally I like my wires tucked pretty neat. I didn't want to cut any holes, but I did have to cut one hole here just to kind of fish my cords through, my audio cords through. But that's the only hole that I cut. What I essentially did was I said, okay, the rear seat moves. Let me try to tuck that wire behind the rear seat. The only thing that I'm actually going to cover is I'm actually going to take the speaker wire that's been taped at the edge, and I'm actually going to put a cover over that. But other than that, I think, you know, that's about the cleanest design you can get. This right here is I ordered the wrong Y connect. The Y connect is actually supposed to be male to female. This one is female to male, and that's why you see it connected like that, because I just wanted to tune the system. But this is actually going to be put together the way it's supposed to, and that male to female connection is actually going to be connected right in the back of the head unit. So this isn't going to look sloppy like this, and in fact the gray sort of kind of blends in with the carpet, which is something else that I like. And then, I mean, worst case scenario, you don't cover everything, but you know, I could potentially do this if I needed to, but I really don't care about my stuff showing. Where I live at, I don't really have those type of problems. But then this is actually the most surprising part of my build. This is finally in, and yes, you do see 1212 on there. That might be a bit tacky, but that's all I paid for. In fact, I think I paid $6 at a yard sale for it. So this thing pumps. I actually have it wired to operate at 2 ohms, and let me tell you, this is a double coil. That thing thumps. Listen, these Alpine R's are serious, and this is an older type. I can only imagine how the newer type operate. The one word of advice I would give you, and I've been teaching myself, or trying to teach myself this for about 20 years now, don't be overzealous and start to put your covers back without actually properly testing the work. You know, sometimes, you know, you're working on a car, you get excited, you want to see what it looks like, and then for 20 years, you know, I've been working on 40, 50 cars, and I still haven't been able to teach myself, calm down, have some patience, right? I've had to take these panels apart multiple times, yesterday included. So, as you well know, in the first video, I said, okay, why not wire up a camera, right? Everything was already open. I said, you know, it just makes sense to wire it up just in case I want to install one. Well, when I went to wire it up yesterday, right, because I had to remove this, I said, well, you know, I might as well remove the tail light so I can wire up the camera. If you remove the passenger tail, there actually is a small hole that leads down to the bottom of the car. So you don't have to drill any holes or anything. The only thing I had to do was cut and splice the AV connection, because obviously the video head is too large to fit in that section. But I cut and spliced that, fished it through, fished through your reverse, because obviously you want your reverse to work. So I had to fish that through. And as you can see, my camera is installed. No cutting, no drilling. At the top baffle of this license plate, there's enough space for you to actually squeeze through your cords. And once you squeeze through your cords on that top baffle, all you have to do is connect and you're good to go. So the video cable is actually working the way it's supposed to. The rear camera is actually working the way it's supposed to. You know, I wish I could give you some sound quality tests on this, but due to proprietary reasons, unfortunately, I will not be able to do that today. But other than that, the last part of this is going to be your boost controller, which again, I just kind of fished the wire through here and I installed the boost controller right there. Okay, so, and just kind of loosen these screws up a bit and fished it through. So overall, I mean, listen, I'm really happy with the way this came out. Maybe not next week. Next week is my son's graduation, so I probably won't be able to do any work next weekend. But the next part of this is going to be a suspension. So I bought 20-inch IROC wheels that I'm going to throw on this, or kind of a twist. They're similar to IROCs, they're not. But I don't want to put them on until I replace I got to replace my brakes and my rotors, right? I got ceramic coated rotors, slotted, as well as ceramic coated brake pads. And then on the rear, I'm actually also put wheel spacers. So I went out about 1.5 inches on a wheel spacer. So I have to cut and modify that because I wanted it a little bit, you know, wider in the rear. Same for the front, and then I also have to repaint and do these calipers correctly. So that's kind of next up. These front struts have to be replaced. The rear coils are also going to have to be, coil springs are going to have to also be replaced, so that those 20-inch wheels tuck the way that I like them. You know, again, this is kind of where I'm at in my build. I'm happy with how it's turning out so far. If you have any questions or comments, just reach out to me. I always have ideas. You know, I'm a car guy. I never thought I'd be that dude, but I do have to say it. I get hundreds of thousands of people that watch my content. You can look at the views and see that. But I am going to have to ask people to start subscribing. I have very little subscribers. And so if you have any questions, if you have any comments, again, I've been working on cars for over 20 years, custom modifying. I can send you pictures anywhere from Dodge Magnums. I started out actually racing Volkswagens with the Cabriolets, the Golfs, as well as the Jettas. Got into Hondas for a little bit, and you know, my dream growing up obviously is to always own a Corvette and a Firebird. So that's what I'm trying to do. The Firebird per se, I do have a couple things that I am looking to get done to this, because I know a lot of you mentioned the V6s, but my first option is obviously to change my gears from a 308 to either a 373 or a 342 with a posi rear. Obviously you're going to port and polish the heads, lower intake manifold, and the supercharger from your 3800 Pontiac. You know, you got to do your valve covers with that, 136-pound valve springs and 42-pound injectors. That's one of the options that I'm steering to. The second option is, and this is relatively simple, a throttle bottle spacer. You can utilize a cold air intake, or you can perform the mod to the existing, which I like better because it kind of forces air through to the bottom. You can go headers, cat delete, under drive pulleys. You can up the bore size, port and polish the head, CC chambers, upgrade your plugs, roller rockers, and then change to your 342. The third option is a big valve, ported heads, intake, custom cam, long tubes, true duals, and then a tune for 91. So those are the things that I'm experiencing. I've actually, or contemplating for this car. I have an LS1 Corvette supercharged. I want to see what I can get out of this 6. I know a lot of people aren't into it, but because it's going to be a daily, I think it would be real cool 10 years from now to have a customized 6-cylinder V6. We all see the small blocks all the time. So, I mean, they wow us, but do they really? But the first 6 that I saw customized, you know, putting out almost 500 horses, that wowed me. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this build. I want to make sure I can do the most I can to get out of this engine. So until next time, all I'm asking is that you subscribe to my channel if you like my content. If you have any questions, you can please reach out. But thank you again for taking the opportunity to watch this video.